You're listening to Frankly Speaking Sports with Larry Frank on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. So happy to be with you on this Monday evening, and wow, what an incredible show we have to start out for you on this Monday. We are about 25 minutes away from having former Major League Baseball player, designated hitter, Reggie Jefferson on with us. Reggie played for the Red Sox, the Indians, the Mariners, the Reds, to name a few of the teams he's played for. So a very, very great guest for us. Want to remind you all that we are on Facebook Live tonight. We are on Northeast Streaming Sports tonight. We are on Zodiac TV tonight. So we're on a lot of different platforms tonight. And if you can all do me a favor, and if you can please go ahead and share this to your timeline, I would really appreciate it. Have a lot of people out there. Like I said, we got a great show. We got a lot to talk about today. The Tampa Bay Rays, and then sweeping the New York Yankees over the weekend. We'll talk a little bit about the Lightning and some of the difficulty the Lightning been having, although they are winning right now 2-1 at the end of the second period, as Braden Point and Alex Killhorn have both scored a goal for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Vasilevsky with around 16 saves so far this evening, and we'll keep you updated on the Lightning score, as well as we'll keep updated on the Tampa Bay Rays, who are right now playing in Kansas City. The score is 0-0. They're entering the bottom of the fourth inning right now. We'll do live look-ins for you tonight. That's right, live look-ins, a little play-by-play for those of you that may not have Valley Sports. Just stick to Frankly Speaking Sports during the show, and as we see something about to happen, we'll do a quick look-in the game. We'll call the play for you, and we'll let you know what's going on. But thank you so much, everyone, for being with us tonight. Several different locations, and boy, did we have a lot to talk about. And we started off with your Tampa Bay Rays, who are probably one of the most inconsistent teams right now in Major League Baseball. But when you look at their record, 8-8, 8 wins, 8 losses, and they have still yet to play their best baseball. And you can go ahead and give a lot of thanks to a player that not should be, not could be, that needs to be playing every day in this lineup, and that's Joey Wendell. Joey Wendell, 6 for 12 during the Yankees series with 2 home runs, including a big solo home run yesterday to seal the game in the Bronx. And when you look at this Rays team, and you look at a lot of the different things going on, there's a lot of good things amongst some very, very bad things. And we're going to talk about it. But before we go ahead and talk about some of the good things and some of the bad things, let's see if we can go ahead and get a clip from Kevin Cash after yesterday's game with the New York Yankees, where they went ahead and they swept the series. Let me see if I can pull that up for you right now. And let's go ahead and see if we can get that going.
He was huge. Ryan Yarbs he's such a big part of what we do. And I know his last couple of outings haven't gone the way we wanted, but he can pitch. And today he dialed it up and kept, New York, really quiet for the most part. A lot of soft contact. They got one across, but it was just a lot of quality pitches. They just couldn't do much with. So Yar's performance was outstanding.
Yoshi Setsuko, you said, you wanted to stick with him in the lineup because you believe he can be a big piece for you. That RBI double in the 7th, how good was it to see that production from him there?
It was great. I mean, we were all pumped for Yoshi, knowing that he's been through a rough stretch here recently. And, the at-bat in the 2nd inning, I believe, was a good at-bat. He got a change-up from Cole where Judge ran it down, made a nice play on it. I think it was a change-up he got again. But Yoshi, he's been working really hard. Anytime you're working hard, kind of behind the scenes, and you get some rewards, it's got to be good for your psyche. The team has kind of put their arms around him, and I think everybody has let him know that, you're a big part of what we're doing, and we're going to continue to have that patience, and hopefully he can get hot. And that RBI to, I think it was tied at the time, to make it 3-2 was pivotal.
And then the obvious thing, you sweep the Yankees. How gratifying is that to come into New York and do that, especially coming off the tough series with the Rangers?
Well, very. This is a tough place to win games. It's a very, very good team that we're playing against. You got to really step up and play together, work together. We did that really well, and we were fortunate to come out with 3 games.
Yeah, and yes, they were, because they did not play their best baseball. And you heard about Yoshi yesterday. Yoshi got a big hit. Let's not take that away from him. But when you look at this lineup, and you look for this lineup in order to be masterful, in order to be dominant, right now Yoshi is not the answer in this lineup. He's batting below 200. I think he's won for his last 15 at-bats. Definitely not what you're looking for. And when you look at this team all together, you got some guys. How about Manuel Margot? The big question now is Kevin Kiermaier is back. What do you do with Kevin Kiermaier? Guys, you need to remember Kevin Kiermaier is an average 260 hitter, maybe 250, definitely plays a very, very good defense. But we are in a league now that is designed by offense. Guys are either striking out or hitting the long ball. Even though in the old days it was defense that wins ball game, you are in an era now where you can give up a little defense to get a little bit more production out of the offensive side of the game. And if teams like the Rays, the Yankees, or any of these teams don't start doing that, they're going to find themselves on the bottom end of their divisions because they are not able to compete with these offensive powerhouses like the New York Yankees, who will, are off to a slow start, but we know that's not going to last. Now, you got a guy like Margot. He's batting what? 261, 2 homers, 6 RBIs. This is a time, and I've told you folks this before, and I apologize, but this is the time where you have to say to yourselves, is it time to trade Kevin Kiermaier? That's what you have to ask yourself. Is it time to trade Kevin Kiermaier? Get what you can for Kevin Kiermaier. You might be able to get a solid relief pitcher, maybe a number 4 starter, maybe another utility player that can play all different positions like the rest of the Rays. But right now, there is no better time for Eric Neander to go ahead and trade Kevin Kiermaier. And I think in the very near future, you're going to have to definitely go see something that has to change on this team. The other thing is, who catches? Is it Francisco Mejia, who has hit another home run over the weekend, is playing very well, has the potential to switch hit either side of the plate, just an incredible young prospect who is going to give Mike Zunino a run for his money. Zunino, a lifetime career 200 hitter. Does he call a game correctly? Yes. But at the end of the day, if you don't score runs and you don't put more runs on the board than an opponent, you don't win ball games. So this is going to be some decisions going on. Mejia has to play. You have to go with the hot hand. And one of the things that Kevin Cash does not do well, and we'll talk about this in a minute, is he doesn't continue to keep guys playing that are going with the hot hand. Players are streaky. Players live in waves. They go up and down, and they got to ride the waves of these players like the Mahayas, like the Brosors, like the Wendells, like the Mongos that are playing well, and they got to ride them out until they can't ride them anymore. And that's where Kevin Cash fails a lot. We'll go over that in a few minutes, but let's go ahead. And we got a chance to listen to Kevin Cash on the sweep over the weekend. Let's listen to the other side and see what Aaron Boone had to say.
It's just got to get better, period. I think we all know that. And, obviously we have an off day here and another good team coming in, up against a couple of tough pitchers coming in. And, we got to get better as a group. One thing is we got great players in that room. They do know that at their core. Obviously we're getting punched in the mouth right now. And we got to work. We got to work our way through it. You got to grind your way through it. You got to fight your way through it. And that's what we'll continue to do. Continue to try and put these guys in the best position to go out and be successful. But, you got to start having some small successes individually that carry over throughout the lineup. And, and then that's when the confidence starts growing. But you got.
Yeah. And, right now with the Yankees, it's a matter of confidence. It really, really is. I mean, the Yankees, are just losing right now. And anytime you're losing. It's like boiling water, bubbling and starting to boil over. And I don't think the Yankees and the problems that you see in these managers today, and we talked about Aaron Boone, we talked about Kevin Cash a little bit earlier, but the one thing that seems to matter the most with these guys is, in the olden days when you had managers, the main difference today is all these managers are so analytic that they leave the human element out of the game. So, and I mentioned this before on several of my shows. It's like watching the movie Sully when you went with Tom Hanks and they're doing this investigation on him, and they said that why did you land the plane in the Hudson River? And he said, because I had no choice. They said, when we went back and looked at it, the analytics said you did. And he said, did you include the human element in it? The thought process, the thinking, the time it takes? And the answer was no. That's what's wrong with baseball today. They don't know how to motivate these players. They don't know what makes these players tick. The managers don't know how to get under these players' skin to get the most out of them. And, I remember those 3 months in Fort Lauderdale Stadium with the New York Yankees, and every single game I would sit near Billy Martin. I wanted to pick this guy's brain. I picked this guy's brain for 3 months at such a pace that nobody even knew I was picking this guy's brain. And I remember one thing he taught me. It was a spring training game. I believe we're playing the Baltimore Orioles, and Don Slaughter's the batter. I don't remember who's on third, but I'm sitting in the bullpen with Louisiana Lightning, Ron Guidry, and I say, Ron, Don's going to go, Billy's going to bunt. And he looks at me and goes, you're crazy. What the hell makes you think you know everything? I said, listen to me, Ron. I know how Billy thinks. Billy's going to bunt here. And he goes, there's no way. It's a spring training game. The game doesn't mean nothing. Well, that's where Lightning was wrong. Okay, he was absolutely wrong, because on the next pitch that was thrown to Don Slaughter, he squared around, he bunted, and the run scored, and it was a squeeze bunt. And I remember Ron Guidry coming up to me and tapping me going, good call, kid, and all that stuff. And, and the one thing I knew about Billy, and what was done in those days is everything you did, every way you acted was a way that you were going to perform in the future. If you didn't play to win in spring training baseball games, then you weren't going to carry over that winning tradition into the regular season. You have to practice winning and winning and winning and winning. And it gives you this formula, this expectation, this mindset that you don't want to do anything else but wins. That's what's wrong with these teams today. It's all about the individual player hitting home runs and striking out. Who can hit the ball the farthest? These exit velocities, these angles, all this crap that you don't need in Major League Baseball. And the problem is the game hasn't changed. It's still played. Whoever scores the most runs wins ball games. You still have to manufacture runs. You still got to produce runs. You still have to do the little things like bunting guys over, hitting running, hitting behind the runner, getting productive outs, and so on and so on and so on. And yet a lot of these managers don't know how to do it. They don't know what gets under Randy Arosarena's skin. They need to learn about the player, the individual, the Giancarlo Stantons, the judges, all these players on the Yankees. The problem there right now is communication and team unity. And that is as simple as it sounds, it's the one thing that is most difficult to get back when you lose the clubhouse. And that's what's going on with the Yankees right now. They got the talent. They got the ability. Every single player has the word called it. They wouldn't be in the major leagues if they didn't have it. What is it? It is different for every single individual that is playing the game. For one, it could be running, hustling, stealing, diving, while the other, it could be hitting long balls and sacrifice flies and so on and so on. But each player has it, and it's up to the coach, it's up to the manager to go ahead and bring it out. And the problem now is managers don't know how to manage people today. They don't know how to manage people, and it's showing. It's showing. Just because you know baseball doesn't mean you're going to win. Just because you got better players don't mean you're going to win. It's the team that plays together, that works together, that goes ahead and wins ball games. And, that's the one thing you're going to see with the Rays. You saw it bite them in the butt last year when Snell was taken out. And it wasn't the first time that he didn't know Cash how to run a pitching staff. I believe when it comes to running a pitching staff that, I'm sorry, but Kevin Cash, I don't care what his record is not a good manager. He's a good manager in other aspects of the game, but when it comes to your pitching staff, knowing your pitching staff, knowing what ticks them off, knowing how to get the best out of them, he is not the answer for this pitching staff. They were a manager away from knowing how to run a pitching staff of winning the World Series last year. And that's my true opinion on it, folks. Love people to go ahead and, if you want, I know it sounds like I'm losing my voice here, but go ahead, call in 813-922-9810. Love to get you on the line. Love to put you on. Love to get your feedback on the Rays. If you want to talk about the Yankees slumping or anybody on the Rays that you want to talk about, go ahead and call in. We're going to do a live look-in right now on the Tampa Bay Rays. It's the top of the fifth, 2 outs, 1-0 to Willie Adames. Duffy's on the mound, and there's a pitch outside. It's 2-0. So 2-0 count on Willie Adames, who is definitely starting the year off slow, batting under 200, batting about 180, does have some power. We do have, it looks like, might be Joey Wendell on first base. So we'll go ahead and see as Duffy looks over to first base. And here comes the pitch. There's a pop-up into the infield. Looking over towards the first base side. He's under it and drops the ball. He dropped the ball. He dropped the ball. The Rays score. Wendell pop up to first base. Scores all the way from first base. And the Rays take a 1-0 lead. the Tampa Bay Rays on an error by the first baseman. And it was a pop-up. Looked like a very easy pop-up. Got under it, and he just misplayed it, dropped. And that's why you run, guys. That's why you run. Wendell running hard all the way from first base, and he scores on the play. And your Tampa Bay Rays take a 1-0 lead. Folks, we are a couple minutes away from having it looks like Reggie Jefferson coming on with us. We're a couple minutes away. Sorry, losing my voice there. Willie Adames is on second base right now. It looks like Kevin Kiermaier is up with 2 outs. The Rays have an unearned run here. Let's see if Kiermaier can take advantage of this. Kiermaier, again, not hitting very well as he looks at a strike one, and the count is 1-1 here. We are at Kauffman Stadium here in Kansas City. The Rays, if you just heard, are winning 1-0 on an error by the first baseman. And here is the pitch. Kiermaier down the field line. It's going to be a foul ball. Foul ball. Oh, Kiermaier would have been running if that stayed fair, as the count now is 1-2 on Kevin Kiermaier. So 1-0 Rays, and you got to take advantage. We talk about the Rays taking advantage of the other team's mistakes. And here's a situation right now where the Rays have a runner on second. It was put on there because of an error. You got to get a base hit. Kiermaier has to bring him in to at least make it hurt a little bit more. Here's the pitch. There's line drive base hit. 1 run round and third. He's going to score. And the Rays take a 2-0 lead as Kevin Kiermaier goes ahead and gets an RBI single. Rays up 2-0. So the Rays have a 2-0 lead here in the fifth. On a Kevin Kiermaier base hit down the left field line, and they're winning 2-0. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick station break, and when we come back, we're going to have joining us former Major League Baseball player Reggie Jefferson.
You're listening to Frankly Speaking Sports with Larry Frank on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. And for those of you who did not know, that was a game-winning home run, I believe, on Father's Day for Reggie Jefferson. And it is my great honor, thrill, and, of course, a pleasure to have joining us on Frankly Speaking Sports. Let's welcome in Reggie Jefferson. Reggie, how you doing tonight?
Great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to thank you so very, very much. I know you're a busy man, and for you to be able to come on this evening is a great privilege to us, and we definitely appreciate it during this busy time.
Oh, no, I thank you for having me. I'm glad you're able to work it out, and I always love to talk sports. So thanks again for having me, and I'm enjoying getting a chance to meet you and talk a little bit.
Well, Reggie, let's go back all the way to 1986. You and I are about the same age, so our lifespan has been the same. You're drafted in the 3rd round. I believe it was out of high school, if I'm correct. What made you decide to go ahead at that time and sign with, I believe, it might have been the Cincinnati Reds?
Yep. You're correct. I think the biggest thing was I just felt like I was ready for pro ball. I mean, I kind of set some parameters that if I was drafted in a certain round, then I was ready to go give it a shot. And once I went in the third round, I was excited about it. I was committed to Florida State, but I felt like the opportunity was there, and I was ready from a mental standpoint, and I definitely made the right decision for myself to go out and play, develop, and take baseball on full time. It allowed me to get to the big leagues and do the best I could. I had a good career.
Now, growing up in the 70s and in the 80s, Reggie, who are the guys that you idolized that you said, I love the way they play the game? And if there was anybody that you could critique yourself that you wanted to be like when you played the game, who was that player?
Oh, wow. There's a few guys that just popped in my head. And I remember as a young kid watching Rod Carew, and he was a magician with the bat. I mean, just the way he commanded the strike zone, hit the ball all fields, and he was just one of my favorites. You could see the game of the week or all-star games that he would be in, and Andre Dawson was a big fan. I was a big fan of his, and really because he played at Florida A&M, and I was from Tallahassee, so I used to hear his name a lot. People talked about Andre Dawson, and we didn't have any black major leaguers from Tallahassee, so I gravitated to him because he had played at Florida A&M, and loved his game. Got it mild-mannered, but just went out and played the game the right way and put up numbers. And then another guy I would think about in my high school years, Ryan Sandberg with the Cubs. I really liked the way he played the game. And kind of a similar theme there, guys that didn't say a whole lot, but just went out and handled their business. So those are three guys that really stand out to me as a kid growing up.
Now, a lot of people don't remember, Reggie, because they remember you so much as a lefty hitter that at one time you were a switch hitter. And it seemed like when I don't know if you got traded or signed with Seattle and you went over there and you played with guys like Edgar Martinez, one of my favorite DH guys, okay? You're one of them too, okay? And people like Ken Griffey, you went over to Seattle and it seemed like you stopped switch hitting. What made you decide or led to that decision to go ahead and stop switch hitting?
Oh, it was a tough decision, but it was one of those things where I was going into my fourth year in the big leagues, and I was primarily a DH at the time, and I was running into this deal where as a DH, the manager is going to put the guy with the best bat in there, and I'd have a guy on the team who was a better right-handed hitter than I was, just being frank about it. And so he would get the nod. So I wasn't getting at bats from the right side, and then I'd get an at bat once every 2 weeks, and it just seemed like a waste of time. I just didn't feel comfortable. I said, if I'm only going to get one at bat every 2 weeks, I might as well just stay on the left side and try to figure that out. And I tell kids today, if you're an up the middle player, meaning shortstop, second base, catcher, center fielder, never give up switch hitting because you're in the game for your defense also. So it's such a tool and it's a weapon. But in my case, it was my fourth year in the big leagues. I wasn't getting the reps. The swing was getting really bad right-handed. And I needed to really perfect left-handed hitting to stay in the big leagues. I'd been there for 3 years and I wasn't established by any means. So it all kind of came together where I said, I'm going to go lefty full time. I think it did help me become a better hitter from the left side and really establish myself for the next 5-6 years. So it was a tough decision. One I wouldn't recommend for every player, but for me, I think it was the right thing to do.
Reggie, is the righty-lefty analytic thing about where lefties hit righties better and righties seem to hit lefties better, is that overrated? I mean, is a good hitter, don't tell me that you're going to sit Tony Gwynn was a switch, could hit both ways, but Tony Gwynn you're not going to sit because he's facing a lefty pitcher. Do you think that these guys, is that an overrated thing in baseball, or do you think it has some truth to it?
Oh, it's way overrated. I think that in certain cases, you will platoon guys, but once a guy has gone out for 2 or 3 years and shown you that he's a good hitter, he has a good idea of the strike zone, he can drive in runs. You got to play him every day because that guy gets in a rhythm. He's going to be able to hit lefties or righties. You're going to have games where the starter comes out of the game, and then you got to make a bunch of switches in order to line it up again, and it doesn't win you games in the end doing all those moves. You have to have a set lineup that you play every day, and you let guys get into a rhythm. So I definitely think it's overrated, and I think that it's case by case. But a good hitter is a good hitter. I remember a couple of years ago, Cody Bellinger had hit 35 home runs, and the Dodgers were platooning him in the World Series, and I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever seen, because you're taking a guy who's been your best player all year, and you're not using him in prime time. And now he's outgrown that, but that should have never been the case with that player. I mean, that just didn't make any sense to me.
Now, a hitter like you who was able to hit the ball to all sides of the field, I mean, how much did Fenway Park and that wall, or how much does it help a lefty who can go the other way?
Oh, it's a Christmas present every day you play there, and that's the key. You have to be a guy that uses the that did so well there. Is you can miss a ball sometimes to left field, and it makes that wall if you're a strong guy. You get it in the air and it'll go off the wall. Now it does, if you hit a line drive, sometimes you may bang it off of that wall and it costs you a couple of homers, but average wise, it's tailor made for the lefty that can use the whole field. And when I was there, we had a few guys that were really good at that, and we as a result, we had some good hitting teams.
Yeah, and your best years, and I say your best years, you played 9 years, you retired young, but they obviously came in Boston. I mean, I don't know if our listeners realize this, but you had a lifetime average in Fenway Park of 345, which just back at that time, is just amazing. Why was it a guy, and you just mentioned it with Cody Bellinger with 35 homers, why would a guy who's batting 345 from the left side go ahead and not use more platooning than going ahead and letting you hit first righties as well?
Well,
I mean,
I think
first lefties as well.
No, gotcha. No, I understood what you meant. I think it was a deal where, if you look at those rosters, I think, I remember when I first got there, Mike Stanley was signed as a free agent catcher.
Yeah.
And who knew, but he had an injury that. Can you hear me? I'm sorry. I want to make sure you can hear me.
No, I could. It just came back on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. I had a call that came in. Sorry about that. Mike Stanley was signed as a free agent to catch. Well, he had an injury, I think, to his neck where he couldn't catch anymore. So now you got a guy that you're paying a ton of money, and I was in the DH spot, so he had to get some at bats somewhere. So then we started sharing it there, and then I think it worked so well that Jim Leyritz came in, and it was another, a big time right-handed bat. So I think it was just again, the team overthinking it to the point where I even got frustrated by it. But I think those circumstances were there that they thought, well, how can we get the most production out of that spot? They didn't go out and sign a JD Martinez, so they said, well, we want to have a hitter out of that spot that maybe produces when you combine it, like the JD Martinez. So I think you have to ask them, but that's kind of how I saw it, and I think that looking back, that's probably what it was. I had a couple of injuries during the time in Boston with my back that hurt me when I was getting on a really good roll. So that contributed to it. So it was multiple things, but I always say that, man, I really love playing in Boston. If you ask me now who who'd you play with? That's who I think of first. Cincinnati drafted me, but I think of Boston when people say who'd you play with in your career. So it was fun times, but yeah, I think that's probably what it was, just a combination of things.
Now, it was pretty much obvious that, especially your later years with Boston, that the relationship between you and Jimmy Williams wasn't necessarily what you would call, the friendliest of all. But how were you able to handle that? And obviously so. You're a great hitter. You need to be in the game. He's not using you correctly. I mean, talk about that, and what do you think led to those decisions by Jimmy not to use you in these games?
Oh, it's hard to say. I think you'd have to ask him. I mean, I think it was more. I think Jimmy's a nice guy, and I like to think that I'm a nice guy. So I don't think it was anything personal. I just think it's competitiveness of a player. You as a player, you want to be in there, and you want to know like what else do I have to do to get that shot. So I think it was more of competitiveness than anything else that caused the relationship just to go sour. And that's really how I look at it. I don't think anything else more about it. Individually, I think it's just when you want to be great as a player, you want to play. I don't care where it was. If I'm not in the lineup, I'm not happy. I was telling someone last week.
Right.
I said the biggest thing that would get my attention as a player was when I wasn't playing. You can tell me anything, or you can say do this or do that, and whether I was in the right or wrong, if I was sitting on that bench, I wasn't a happy camper. And I think that's how you got to be if you're going to compete at the major league level.
So talk about your experience in Japan. Your last year, you go to Japan. I've known many players. I'm good buddies with Orestes Destrade. He played obviously over there in Japan for many years, had a great career over there. What was your experience like there?
Oh, wow. It was unforgettable, I think is the word. I went over there. I was really indifferent about going, but it was a great opportunity for my family. And you get over there and people say, man, it's baseball. Baseball's baseball, but it's not. It's different, and it's hard to explain if you don't you live it. It's just the way the game is thought over there, the way it's played. It's their game. They've taken our game and developed it and morphed it into their culture and the way they do it. So when you've grown up in the United States playing the game a certain way, it's going to be different. There's no way around it. But they have great fans there. I think their fans probably are more fanatical about the game than they are here. I mean, it's unbelievable. I got to play against some really good players, and I was able to adjust. The first half of the year I struggled, but then the second half I kind of found a groove and was contributing to the team and enjoyed it. It's a great experience now that I can share with people of having gone over there, because it's I can say I've played baseball pretty much everywhere.
Yes, you can. Now, you played with some great hitters in your career. I mean, obviously Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, and even one of the guys who I think is probably one of the best teachers today of hitting in Mo Vaughn. I mean, talk about some of the hitters you played with and who influenced you most when you played in the major leagues.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I was fortunate enough to play with some really good hitters, but I think when you're in the majors, I mean, especially in the era that I played, everybody had good hitters. I mean, it was just some great guys that really knew what they were doing up there and had great approaches. But, for me, it's every stop there were guys, and Cleveland, Albert Bell, was unbelievable. Carlos Baerga had about a 4 or 5 year run there where it was fun watching him as a switch hitter. Kenny Lofton was an exciting player. Then I go to Seattle, and again, Ken Griffey Jr., Edgar Martinez, Tino Martinez. And then, of course, Boston, Mo Vaughn, being able to play with him. I tried to take a little bit of all those guys, and DH like I did. I watched a lot of players on other teams. It was always trying to learn what each guy did, what made him great. The guy that I patterned is someone you mentioned earlier in the major leagues, Tony Gwynn, because I was a very similar hitter. I mean, he was on a whole nother level than me, of course, but I hit the ball naturally to all fields like Tony did, and that's what he believed in. So I studied Tony Gwynn a ton. When I talk to kids now about hitting, it's Tony Gwynn. That's what I pattern everything about off of. So he influenced me a lot to watch, but and pattern. But I learned from everyone. I mean, Griffey to me was the greatest at just knowing what the other team was going to do to him. And he banked on it. And then, like idiots, they would do it, and the ball would end up in the seats. He was phenomenal like that. Albert Bell was just such a competitor. One of the most competitive guys I've ever been around. And it was just fun to watch those guys perform, and I enjoyed it. I was telling someone the other day, I grew up a huge baseball fan, so in order to be able to play in the major leagues was a huge thrill for me, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Couple more questions before we let you run, Reg. Let me ask you this. I mean, it's no surprise that the game has changed from the time you played to today's standard. And the one thing I want to ask you about is more on the management side of things. You see today, obviously, analytics being used every single place. But do you think, I had the pleasure of being in the Yankees camp in the late 80s around Billy Martin. And one of the things I learned from him is that there's more than an analytical part of the game. There is a mental part of the game that each player has a different way to be motivated. And, just because the guy hits well or is in a streak doesn't mean he's ready to play on any given day. So my question to you is the analytics side failing to look at the individualism side of baseball, the players, how they feeling, what they're doing? Are they having a good day? Are they having a bad day? Did something happen in their personal life? Do you think that piece is gone from the days when you played baseball?
Yeah, I think so to a certain degree. I think as far as the analytics are good in that guys do get information on what guys do and what patterns. I mean, I used to keep notes myself as a player on how guys pitch me. Nothing to the level that these guys do today, but I did it. I'll say it was simple analytics, but I think now they've gotten carried away with it to where you take the human element out of it. And that's huge in baseball because baseball is like a 6-month soap opera of guys going through slumps, going through hot streaks, feeling good or dealing with a nagging injury. And a computer can't read those things. So that's where I think they devalued the manager. They don't pay attention to these things as much as they should. And I think that when you get to the World Series, you get to the playoffs, it comes down to who has the best players. And that's what it's always going to be. You can have analytics all you want, but the Rays are not going to beat Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, and Mookie Betts. They never will. Not when you got pitching to go along to match the Rays. So you can do all the analytics you want, but it's going to come down to who has the better players. So I'm moving around here.
We are based out of Tampa Bay. So I see that. Hey, listen, we are based out of Tampa Bay here, and it wouldn't be right if I didn't ask you this question is, you had the opportunity to coach at USF and actually get your degree here at University of South Florida. The fans from Tampa here, tell them how your experience was at USF and having that ability to coach for that short amount of time here.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was kind of caught in it was a perfect storm for that opportunity. I had worked 1 year with the Marlins, and after my playing career, and my wife was going nuts because I was way more than when I played, so I knew that wasn't going to last long. And I heard that Eddie was looking for an assistant coach, and I thought, why not give it a shot? Apply for it and see if it's something you like. And lo and behold, I got the job, and And it was great working with Eddie. You know, when I moved to Tampa, I used to go out and work out at USF, and Eddie would always let me use the cages, and get work in, and he's one of the, a legend. I mean, of course, a USF legend, but the guy knows the game. He's had a lot of great players, and he built that program. So it was fun working there. I enjoyed it. I laughed. One of the things I tell people now is, like, in pro ball, when the game's over, everybody just said, "Hey, see you tomorrow." But when you're working with college kids, there is no "see you tomorrow." You got to know what they're doing when they leave the field. Are they going to study hall? Are they staying out of trouble? It's just a whole different deal that I hadn't even thought about when I took the job, and I laughed about it at the time. But it's great. Some of the kids now that I coached, it's fun to see them as adults, and they're doing great in the world. And I really appreciate that time I spent there.
Now, you had a chance in your career to play Major League Baseball, to coach, and also be an agent. Out of all the things that you've done with baseball, those three, first of all, which one did you enjoy most, and what are you up to doing these days with yourself?
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, playing. I mean, nothing compares to playing a game. I mean, it seems like the older I get, the more I miss actually playing. And so that's first and foremost, being able to go out there and compete, especially at the highest level, where you're challenged by facing guys that are just nasty on the mound, and just the intensity that you have to bring every day, and the dedication that it takes to be a big league ball player. So I miss that so much. But now I'm currently an agent still, and I've been doing that now for over 10 years, and I love it. I have no plans to stop. I enjoy it. Get to work with young men. Actually represent Kevin Merrill, who was the first rounder out of USF a couple years ago, was a client of mine. So I'm still around here, busy with the game, loving it. And like I said, being an agent is a dream come true too. I love working with players. I love the business side of the game. So yeah, I'm busy with that right now, and then getting busier now that the minor leagues are coming back and the majors are opening back up. Last year you couldn't visit players during the 6-game schedule. Now it's it's a little bit better. So baseball is back. I've really enjoyed watching these first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, me too. Now, is it only baseball that you're an agent for, or is it all sports?
Only baseball is what we deal with. I've referred football players to different places and things like that, but we deal with baseball.
Okay. Well, listen, Reggie, I want to thank you so very, very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on Frankly Speaking Sports. It's been definitely a pleasure.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Let's do it again sometime.
All right. You be safe, okay?
All right.
All right. That was Reggie Jefferson, former Major League Baseball player. Let's go ahead right now and allow our stations to take a quick 15-second station break, and then we'll be back with more.
You're listening to Frankly Speaking Sports with Larry Frank on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking Sports. Hope everybody enjoyed that interview with Reggie Jefferson. What a great interview. Gave you some great insights. Watched him play for years, especially in the latter years with the Boston Red Sox. I believe the last 3 or 4 years. Let's give you a couple updates. The Rays are still up 2-0. They did blow a chance at the top of the 6th inning, had the bases loaded. With 1 out, Mahia got into a double play. That ended that inning. They are up 2-0. Fleming did come out to pitch the first batter in the bottom of the 6th inning, got him out, and then, of course, Kevin Cash did what Kevin Cash does best. he takes him out. Let the guy finish the inning. If you're going to let him start the inning, let him finish the inning. And this is what I'm talking about, fans, when I said to you that Kevin Cash does not know how to handle a pitching staff. Tonight is another great example where you can allow this guy to get 2 more outs. He's on fire right now. Let's see if I can get his stats. He's gave up 2 hits and struck out 3 batters. You let him finish the inning, and of course, Kevin Cash takes him out of the game instead of making the guy feel good and allowing him to go the entire 6th inning. There it is, 5.1 in the 3rd innings, 2 hits and 3 strikeouts for Josh Fleming, but and only on look like 65 pitches. So you got to wonder if he was under some type of count tonight, which I hate that to begin with, unless because of an injury, as you know. But it's a 2-0 game, and let's go ahead and hope they brought Thompson in, who got the first batter to go ahead and ground out into an out to Willie Adames. But the Rays are winning 2-0, bottom of the 6th inning, with 2 outs right now. And then an update. The Lightning went ahead and won in overtime. Won 3-2 against the Carolina Hurricanes. Let me see if I can find out. Looks like the winning goal was by none other than Yanni Gourde. Gets the winning goal in overtime. Your Lightning, who have been struggling of late, go ahead and they win by the score of 3-2. 2 big points for the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are battling in their division. They were in 3rd place going into tonight's game. So, you know, these are one of the things I talked about. We don't want to have those memories of of 2 years ago when we played real well the first half of the season, and down towards the end of the season, you end up not playing well and you lose some of these games, and it carries over into the playoffs, and then you were swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets 4-0. But remember, this is a team that is hurt. A lot of injuries, and we don't use it as an excuse. When you got Kucherov, your leading scorer, and the captain, Steve Stamkos, both out indefinitely, you know, that's going to hurt you a little bit. And tonight it was nice to see Point get a goal, Killorn got a goal, and Yanni Gourde. So congratulations to the Tampa Bay Lightning. As Vasilevsky turned away 25 of 27 shots on goal. The top of the 6th inning just ended in Kansas City. Ryan Thompson got out of it, and the score remains 2-0 as the Rays head into the top of the 7th inning. Gonna see if any of you listening right now, I'm not sure who's on and who's not on, but here's a call-in number if you want to go ahead and call in real quickly. I know it sounds like I'm losing my voice tonight for some reason. Not sure why that is. Maybe it's the excitement of watching all these different games. But if you're just joining us, Tampa Bay Lightning victorious in overtime, 3-2 over the Carolina Hurricanes. Rays are winning in the top of the 7th, 2-0. Error on Carlos Santana, the first baseman for the Kansas City Royals, allowed Joey Wendell to score from first base, and then Kevin Kiermaier went ahead and got an RBI single down the left field line to score the 2nd run of the game, 2-0 Tampa Bay Rays. Want to remind you all that we are on several different platforms. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Zodiac TV, Northeast Streaming Sports. Yes, Northeast Streaming Sports. If you're not a member of Northeast Streaming Sports, you can join their Facebook page. You can also join their YouTube page. Make sure you do that, as well as our Frankly Speaking Sports Facebook page as we watch a quick look in as it looks like Joey Wendell is the first battle to face Brents in the 7th inning. We'll go ahead and watch this at bat, and then we'll wrap it up here. If anybody wants to call in the meantime, they can. While we got a couple minutes, Joey Wendell is batting in the top of the 7th inning. Wendell's 1 for 2 with a single in the 5th. He also, as you heard, scored a run as well on that pop-up to Carlos Santana that was dropped. So here's a 2-0 pitch. Strike on the outside corner, 2-1. So 2-1 count to Joey Wendell. Live from Kansas City. We're doing a quick look in on the Tampa Bay Rays game. It's a 2-1 count on Joey Wendell with your Tampa Bay Rays up 2-0 here in the top of the 7th inning. Rays have swept the Yankees 3 games in a row, looking to make it 4 tonight. And here's a pitch, same exact spot, and Wendell does not like the call, and he lets the home plate umpire know it as the count goes to 2-2. So 2-2 count on Joey Wendell here. No outs, top of the 7th. Like I said, Rays are winning 2-0. Here comes Brent. From the windup, the pitch. It's low outside in the dirt. It'll make it 3-2. So 3-2 count here on Joey Wendell, who by far has been the best hitter on this Tampa Bay Rays team. Coming into today's game, batting .340. He's already 1 for 2. Like I said, he scored a run, so he remains hot. As the 3-2 pitch, there's a foul, and Wendell hangs up, fouling it off back in the crowd, and the count will remain 3-2. So we'll go ahead and watch Joey Wendell, this last batter, before we wrap it up here on Zodiac TV, Northeastern Sports, and Friendly Speaking Sports Network. Wendell steps in the box. Brent's looking in. Here's the pitch. There's a ground ball. Base hit down left field line. That's going to be 2. And let's see. Whoa, wait a minute. Whoa, they called it a foul ball. It's a foul ball, and there seems to be a little disagreement down that left field line as Wendell walks back to the plate. So looked like a ball down the left field line that third base umpire called foul. And I don't know if they're going to show a replay here or not, but that'll keep the count at 3-2. Wendell sliced that ball, so it must have just been a foul ball. And there's a pitch way outside, so Wendell gets on base anyway. He walks here in the top of the 7th. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank Reggie Jefferson, our guest tonight, for being with us on the show. Want to remind you that we'll be back Thursday night with another edition of Frankly Speaking Sports at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. For those of you that want to go ahead and join our Facebook page, go to Facebook, Frankly Speaking Sports, become a member. Once again, thank you all for joining us this evening, and we'll see you Thursday night on another episode of Frankly Speaking Sports.